Buck drop. Are you going to drop? You're just going to fall out? You're going to watch anything?
No. Honestly, I don't know that I'm going to make it through this show.
Wow, no dinner?
So
man, just
get nuts.
Head to pillow.
Welcome to a close to primetime edition of PTI Boys and Girls. In today's episode, Blake Griffin is a free agent. Duke has one last shot. And could Deshaun Watson become the next Texan to join the Cardinals? But we begin today with more disrespect to the Utah Jazz. You'll remember the other day, Donovan Mitchell complained about getting hosed by the refs, and Rudy Gobert chimed in with, it's because Utah is a small market. Well, yesterday when LeBron James and Kevin Durant picked their squads for the All-Star game, Mitchell and Gobert were picked last. LeBron said, this is a direct quote, "There's no slander to the Utah Jazz. But you guys got to understand, just like in video games growing up, we never played with Utah. Even as great as Karl Malone and John Stockton were, we would never have picked those guys. Never," unquote. I'm adding emphasis. Wilbon, do you believe there was no slander?
No, there is slander. Let's get this straight. I'm going to go on a tirade, and much of it is going to be directed at you. You can take it for LeBron all you want. First of all, this is funny. It's cool. It's good. I'm not hating on slander, but let's call it what it is. Set the officials, the referee, the game officials, set them aside. They don't care. A great many of them are from small towns, too. Now, let's turn to people like you, who if Utah, if the Jazz was playing in any dump town in New Jersey or Pennsylvania or New York or Maryland, you'd be fine. The reason why every week I say, Tony, you like Utah, is because you do slander Utah. Just like 10 years and 15 years and 20 years ago, you slander San Antonio. And LeBron has spent his whole life trying to get out of Cleveland so he can go to big market cities like Los Angeles and Miami. We know how you people are. You hate Utah. You don't want
people.
Yes, you.
You people.
You people.
You people.
You going to deny this?
It's so great. It is so great that you have turned this on me and not LeBron James.
Both of you.
What LeBron James
turned it on him.
What LeBron James did was textbook slander. LeBron James.
I said that.
He said, I don't care who plays for Utah, we're not picking. If you don't pick Stockton and Malone, who are in the Hall of Fame, who are on the original Dream Team, if they're not good enough for you, then nobody is good enough in Utah, because you're looking at Utah like it's a foreign planet somewhere. This is textbook slander.
It is.
There's no question about it.
You don't co-sign?
No, not at all, because I like Utah, and I think it's a very good team, and I love Stockton and Malone. So don't pin this on me in order to get out from under with your boy LeBron.
I just said LeBron is guilty of slander.
LeBron and Kevin Durant got together, because this smells like it was cooked up, got together, and they said, we'll show these whiners a little bit. Let's just dump them. And you're the guy telling me Donovan Mitchell is a superstar.
I love Donovan Mitchell.
So there are 24 All-Stars, 2 from Utah. What are the mathematical odds that they would both go 23 and 24? No, this was cooked up.
They did it intentionally. So get rid of the captaincy. You know what you can have? I wrote this down. You can have a United States against international team, and the international starters could be Giannis, Embiid, Jokic, Luka, and Jamal Murray. Would you like to watch that? Of course you would. But the NBA has got this lazy captains thing, like choosing up teams is every kid's dream. Yeah. We do that all our lives. Get rid of that and get the international versus you. It's slander. But you do co-sign because you hated Utah until last week.
No,
even though I know you don't really hate Utah.
That's absolutely not true. I'm going to make a couple of points here. Yeah, I loved them in the ADA when Zelmo Beatty was there, so don't go there. Okay, a couple of points. The kid from Orlando on a team that is like 8,000 games below 500 was picked ahead of Gobert and Mitchell. Playoff P, who hasn't made a clutch shot in his life, was picked number 19, way ahead of these guys. And at one point, and I want to get the quote right, LeBron actually said, quote, I need some length. And he picked Sabonis, who's 6'11". Gobert's 7'1". You want some length? Go pick Gobert. This was deliberate, and it's slander.
By the way, they're rivals. It's okay to do that. But the NBA doesn't have to let it happen. They have sidestepped. I wrote down, I can't go through all of them. I wrote down like 30 guys on an international team that would make for a great U.S. versus international game. Porzingis is like my 25th guy on the international side. So Buddy Hield, I didn't even have him in the top 15. So the NBA could do something like get rid of this captain junk and get a real competition out there. But for whatever reason, they don't want to. Now, we've got a 6-time All-Star on the open market. Blake Griffin will be a free agent after reaching a buyout agreement with the Detroit Pistons. Mark Stein of the New York Times reports the Lakers, Clippers, Nets, Heat, and Dubs have expressed interest, with The Athletic reporting that the Nets, of course, are the leaders. Tone, what do you see in Blake Griffin's future?
Mike, if you look at his numbers, you don't see any future at all.
No.
I mean, he's averaging 12 points and 5 rebounds. The first 9 years of his career, when he had most of those All-Star appearances, he averaged 22 points, 9 rebounds, 5 assists, and he was a 50% shooter. The last 2 years, it's 14 points, 5 rebounds. He's a 36% shooter. It gets worse. He's 28 from 3, where he takes 6 a game. Now, my feeling is this. I'm just going to dismiss the Nets. No, that's too many people. No, the Nets is the wrong place for him. You can get to where you think he belongs, but I will tell you this. It may just be that he needs a change of scenery. Detroit, it's an awful place to play right now. You can't even name any of the other Pistons. It's like being sentenced to hard labor when they dump you in Detroit. So I think maybe he can be revitalized almost anywhere else.
Tony, I took this seriously and actually called a couple of current players, recent former players, longtime former players, a couple of scouts. I just said, so what is the take around the league on Blake Griffin in this situation? At one point, he's averaging 12 points a game on 35% shooting. And Tony, you know what's interesting? Nobody had the same answers. As a matter of fact, the most common answer I got was, I have no idea. Seriously, I have no idea. What do you think? I mean, that's where people are. So Can he not jump high enough to dunk anymore or block a shot? Or is he just sort of putting it in reserve until he can use it, put it at better use, as you say, for someplace outside of Detroit? Speaking of 2 years away from 2 years away, but don't ever not be able to name Jeremy Grant because he's having a great season. But Tony, maybe most improved player after they got rid of Christian Wood, who could be the most improved player in Houston, except he's injured now. But Blake Griffin, Tony, you look at his star and how it rose and how it now descends. Not descend, it's just, it fell out of the sky. And so I listen to these people who are indeed experts, and they're like, we don't understand this. And some people say, well, I hear he's hurt. Others say, well, I hear he just don't want to be there. And you don't know what to make of it. So how do you acquire him? Now, they don't have to spend the money. I mean, he's reached the buyout with Detroit. Maybe they can sign him for the minimum. But how do you know what he's got left if you don't work him out, and they're not going to do that, or you don't see him play and be Blake Griffin?
When I think of Blake Griffin, I still see a guy dunking over a car. I still see a great athlete. Now, he may be shot. He may be.
Right.
I don't know. But I'm going to give you 2 names of people whose careers have gone pretty well lately in places you would never have expected. Carmelo Anthony in Portland and Derrick Rose in New York. I don't really see any reason why Blake Griffin, if he's got something left, can't be good. And I'd like to see him with the Lakers because they need him. The Nets don't. The best rivalry in college basketball doesn't look so hot this year. Duke travels to North Carolina tomorrow for both teams' regular season finale. Yesterday, I sat here and I said, these teams aren't very good, but there's a certain magic anyway. Wilbon, do you see anything significant on the line tomorrow when Duke plays North Carolina?
Yeah, Tony, I wish they would announce before the game that the winner goes to the tournament. And, the loser gets another chance because you got the ACC tournament. But, Tony, and maybe that's because, here's my bias, and it flows to the East Coast. I covered the ACC for the Washington Post for a while. And there's few things, I'm gonna go as far as saying nothing in my time doing it, like watching Duke and North Carolina play each other. In Chapel Hill, in Durham, in the third city. It could have been Atlanta for the ACC tournament or Greensboro, wherever you want to put it. Capitol Center in D.C. formerly. Wherever you want to put that thing, those 2 teams playing each other, the kids know the history because they're 8 miles from each other. They play each other in the summers and the AU stuff. They play each other in pickup games. They know the history. We all do. And yes, I see something at stake. Big.
Yeah, I mean, if you're asking me what is significant, I'm not sure the game is. If North Carolina wins, let me get the numbers here. If North Carolina wins, they may very well make the tournament because I think they would be 15-10 or
I think they
something
have
like
a really
that.
Good shot.
It would be pretty. It'd be pretty good.
Yeah.
If Duke wins, I don't think it's enough yet. I think Duke's going to have to win almost all the way, probably all the way to the final of the ACC tournament this year. But if you're asking me for significance, the significance is on this network because this is a big ratings getter. You can put Baylor and Oklahoma State on here 200 times, and it won't matter as much as one Duke, North Carolina. because that's Ohio State, Michigan in football. That moves the needle. It doesn't matter that you'd like the teams to be great, but people are going to tune in anyway. So for me, I'm going to watch it. I know I'm going to watch at least some of it because it's Duke, North Carolina, and I know you feel the same way.
Yeah, I'll probably watch all of it, particularly with no NBA on, and there's no NBA on until Sunday's All-Star game. So I'm going to watch it, Tony, and I'm curious as to just how desperate it will be. Do both those teams go in, and Duke must, because I agree with you, they have to go in thinking we've got to win. Or else we're going to have to win the ACC tournament, and chances don't seem good for that.
Let's take a break. Coming up, could Deshaun Watson become the next star Texan to join the Cardinals?
And after another late collapse, will the Clippers figure out how to close games? Didn't you love going to Salt Lake City when you covered the ABA? Was that not fun?
I like Salt Lake City, and I like Utah. I understand why they feel they get dissed because they're a small market.
Yeah.
But again, San Antonio's got 5 rings. That's a small market.
Yeah.
Kick hotline, where we peer into the future to bring you answers from the great beyond. Hart, I sense the first call.
Hi, Tony and Mike. I want to know if you see Deshaun Watson as the next Texan to end up in Arizona.
So this is interesting. If he goes to Arizona, of course, he joins J.J. Watt and DeAndre Hopkins, and it would be very good, I guess, for Arizona. You would assume that Arizona would have to send Kyler Murray back to Houston at that point. Kyler Murray's awfully good. Here's my feeling about this. I thought I read today, Mike, that Houston was prepared to tell Watson to just sit out, and it's okay. Sit out the whole season. But if that's the case and he's not with them, what good is he to them? And if they have to go get a quarterback and that quarterback is good, then what happens? I think Watson will be traded. The fly in the ointment here may be Cliff Kingsbury, who loved Kyler Murray so much in college, and they say, you know what? I like his arm better than Watson's. I like his ability better than Watson's. I'm sticking with Kyler Murray.
Yeah, that kind of evaluation as a coach will get you fired, even though he does love him. And Tony, from all I see while I'm there, and I spend a lot of time there, they all love him. Everybody in the desert loves Kyler Murray. However, you love people until you say, we can get Deshaun Watson? Are you serious? They love Deshaun Watson even more. I like you, I think that Kingsbury would be really just loath to get rid of Kyler Murray under almost any circumstance. The almost, though, doesn't include Deshaun Watson. I would be so excited I would just faint dead away. Tony, I might leave you in the attic and just go there for good if they get Deshaun Watson.
Boy, if you fainted dead away, that would be amazing. Could you do it on TV? What's next?
Tony and Mike, this is Sean. I want to know if you see the Clippers figuring out how to close out tight games.
Okay, so let's understand what this is about right now. At the moment, the Clippers are terrible in what is called clutch time, which is defined as any time in the last 5 minutes of the game when the score is within 5 points. The Clippers have had 45 such minutes this year of clutch time. They are last in offensive field goals. They are last in net rating, which stinks. Plus, they've lost their last 3 games and 6 out of their last 9 games. Now, one thing you could do, I guess, is you could fire the coach. They did that in Atlanta because they were losing games in the fourth quarter, and now they've won 2 in a row. But I don't think they're going to do that. So my advice to them is very simple. Shoot better. Make more baskets late.
Yeah, there's a way to do that. It's called get a real point guard. Get a lead guard. That's what you got to do. Pat Beverly is great coming off the bench to harass other people's primary playmakers. That's his job, okay? He is not the guy you want at the end of the game, Tony, trying to organize your team and run an offense which would get you better shots to not be in those 2 categories. To that end, I'm going to suggest 3 people. One is Kyle Lowry in the last year of his contract in Toronto. He's got something called a ring on his finger, which though most of those Clippers guys don't have. And another veteran one, Tony, Ricky Rubio, who's not Kyle Lowry, but you're talking about organizing a team, can throw in a 3-pointer or 2 on his own. If you want to go after somebody younger and you have more at stake longer, okay, maybe Lonzo Ball, maybe he's not available. Kyle Lowry, Ricky Rubio, that's the way you want to go with Pat Bev coming off the bench, doing Pat Bev things that made him sort of a, sensation. But you've got to do better at the point guard position. Other players around the league, other coaches, other scouts, they all observe that.
Just going to point out one thing, that somebody on the Clippers does have a ring, and he got it with Lowry.
Well, but we know he's got. That's at most.
That out. Phone lines are closed. We're going to take one last break, but in our future, I see us discussing whether Ohio State will upset Illinois tomorrow.
No, how's that? And the Celtics have now won 4 in a row.
Production is presented by Toyota. Let's go places.
Happy time, people. Happy 22nd birthday, Justin Fields. The key to the entire NFL draft may be where the Ohio State quarterback goes and when. Do the Jets give up on Sam Darnold and take Fields at number 2? Do they trade the pick so some other team takes Fields at 2? Does Heisman winner Devontae Smith go ahead of Fields? Does Zach Wilson of BYU go ahead of Fields? Fields was great 2 years ago. 41 touchdowns, only 3 interceptions. He was 15-3 after 5 games this year, but he was bad against Northwestern. 12 of 27 with 2 picks.
Good D.
Then he was great against Clemson, throwing for 385 yards and 6 touchdowns. But in the national championship game against Alabama, Fields was only 17-33 for 194 yards. Ohio State has never had a great NFL quarterback. Recently, Cardale Jones wasn't much, and the Washington football team just gave up on Dwayne Haskins. But happy birthday.
You mentioned Cardale Jones. How do we go back further? You can go back almost 20 years. Craig Krenzel, Troy Smith, Terrell Pryor, Braxton Miller, J.T. Barrett. You mentioned Cardale. Joe Burrow. It wasn't good enough there at Ohio State. And by the way, I'm going to put my school's name in a breath with Alabama just this once. 2 great defenses made him look bad late in the season.
Not so happy anniversary, Troy Aikman. Around the state 20 years ago, Aikman was waived by the Cowboys the day before his 7-year, $70 million extension was to kick in. Aikman still wanted to play, but he retired a month later after the rest of the NFL was scared off by his 6 to 8 concussions. So how did it work out for Aikman? Well, he has 3 Super Bowl trophies to look at when he gets bored. He can put on his Hall of Fame blazer if he wants to play dress-up, and he can queue up the hundreds of games he's broadcast for Fox if he is sitting on the couch with nothing to watch. Kids, if you're looking for the surest way to get into the booth, become the Cowboys quarterback, Meredith Aikman Romo. Not to mention position players Irvin, Emmett, Deion, Moose Johnson, or Coach Jimmy Johnson.
Roger Staubach didn't do too badly as a former quarterback either. Tony, Troy Aikman was one of my all-time favorites. And you know what else he still is? Underrated, undervalued. Look at his career. Almost anybody not named Brady, or Montana or Bradshaw would switch with Aikman pretty easily.
Happy trails to Calgary Flames head coach Jeff Ward. The Flames fired their coach even after they beat Ottawa 7-3 last night. You don't expect someone to be fired after a blowout like that. But the Flames were in 5th place in their division, so they brought back Darryl Sutter for his second pass coaching them and gave him a 3-year deal. The last time Sutter coached Calgary, he took them to Game 7 of the Stanley Cup Final before losing to Tampa Bay in 2004. Sutter most recently coached the Los Angeles Kings from 2011 to 2017, and he won the Cup in 2012 and 2014. Sutter's been a head coach for 18 seasons in Chicago and San Jose, in addition to Calgary and Los Angeles. He had a winning record in 15 of those 18 seasons. Sutter, 62, is described as blunt, hard-edged, and old school. So there's no more fun in Calgary.
Tony, you got the right sport, but the wrong trails. Brent Seabrook is retiring after 15 years with the Blackhawks, having been an integral part of a roster that won 3 Stanley Cups. He was a mainstay on the back line, joining with Kane, Taves, Duncan Keith, and Corey Crawford. Don't forget him. Hoisted the cup.
One error. If North Carolina beats Duke, they'll be 16-9, not 15-10. My bad. Let's go to the big finish if we could.
Let's do it.
The Celtics beat the Raptors for their 4th straight win. Is that a big deal?
Yeah, it is, Tony. I mean, it's been a delayed start at all for the Celtics. They need to get going. Now's as good a time as any. Ron Rivera says Alex Smith's leadership was a key factor in making the playoffs. Your thoughts?
Then why wouldn't you keep him? Everybody talks about creating a good culture. Alex Smith helped create that. Why wouldn't you keep him? Michael Jordan says LaMelo Ball has exceeded the Hornets' expectations so far. I know you like him. Your reaction?
I do, exceeded mine. Draft night, I didn't think he'd be this good. He's terrific, Tony. Reminds me in some ways of young Penny Hardaway. He can do everything. Villanova lost guard Colin Gillespie for the season to a torn MCL. That's a big loss, isn't it?
It's really big. He's a senior. He's a guard. He runs the team. I think they're done. Last one, number 4, Illinois at number 7, Ohio State tomorrow. Who you got?
If my man Ayo is back, Illinois is going to win. It may take overtime. It's going to be a tough game, but they're going to beat the Buckeyes if he does, Tony, if he's back.
We're out of time. We'll try and do better the next time, and I'm Tony Kornheiser.
I'm Mike Wilbon. We're back at our usual time on Monday, Knuckleheads. Have a great weekend. You can get the PTI podcast on the ESPN app or Apple Podcasts. You gonna go to sleep
Anita
now?
from Alaska, happy birthday. It's my bedtime.
Bedtime.
I'm going.
All right,
I'm
drop.
going. I'm going to sleep.